the owner of Healing Crown Counseling, and welcome to my very first episode of Healing Not Healed. It is my first YouTube channel video ever, so thank you for joining me, and I appreciate you being here with me humbly as I start this new endeavor, right? I welcome you from wherever you're tuning in into the world. I am a licensed clinical professional, a sound healer, and Reiki healer. I am also just a overall mental health advocate, one as a clinical professional myself, and also someone who has struggled with mental illness myself. And so I honor all of you who have joined me today for just this conversation and this topic. I thank you for your presence and being here in the first place, taking a chance. Holla at your girl. So welcome to Healing Not Healed. We will be talking about all things mental health and holistic wellness in a very transparent and just culturally competent space. I am not always right, and I'm not going to pretend that I am always right. I'm not always politically correct, and I'm not always going to say things right. So I want to apologize in advance, but I do welcome respectful dialogue and correction. And I just hope we have healthy conversations surrounding these topics moving forward. Some of what I wanted to say may come off from a clinical perspective, but a lot of it may come from personal experiences. I am human as well, and I walk this earth and make mistakes like everyone else. In this platform, I will be honoring both, and I hope that both of those experiences become meaningful for you as they have for me, and that we both grow and develop together. This isn't a one-sided relationship, so I hope that brings meaning to both of us. And so if you like meaningful conversations, dialogue, like, subscribe, share. And so I will also want to remind the audience that this is not a replacement for any therapeutic interventions. And so I strongly suggest that you seek any professional support that you feel like you may need in your own community. So again, thank you for joining. Today, I wanted to talk about the absolutes of the dangers of absolutes, right? And the reason I'm standing on the same integrity and efforts I have put into people into following their dreams and pushing them and things like that. And I say that to say that I'm not perfect, right? We profess and we tell and we motivate and we say the right things to other people, but that doesn't necessarily mean we walk the same steps. And so I think I wanted to start this conversation about how we have public conversations and we sometimes speak in absolutes, and the dangers of that when having these open conversations is just not taking in full perspective. When you think about absolute, you think about always, never. It's diminished to a total, or it's like a complete package. A synonym is just, perfection, perfect, entire. And so I think we very much are in a black and white, all or nothing thinking space when we come from that kind of perspective. And it's a very common thinking era, very known in the clinical community, all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking. And this kind of thinking can cause irreparable damage to relationships when we don't recognize that there's duality in some of the way that we think, and there's no there's inflexibility in the way that we perceive or understand other people's perspective. And I've noticed that, like, being a newer person to podcasting and to this platform, I've noticed a lot of downfalls of other celebrity and public figures is that, people come from a very expert standpoint, but coming in to say, I fuck up too. I'm going to fuck up, and I'm probably going to continue to fuck up. And so this is me, and this is what I have to offer. And I hope that you walk away with something. And what you find valuable, I hope that it means something to you. And what doesn't, I hope you walk away and you know that it doesn't pertain to you. Like for me, for instance, cussing. I'm pretty sure there's people who would frown upon that and think linguistically and intellectually I should probably stop cussing, and there's arguments for either way. Oh, she can't articulate herself, she needs to find better words. I like cussing, okay? And so I know for me it's not something that I plan on changing. That's my level of insight. And if I were insecure or were to take that projection as a personal attack on my intellect or intelligence or things like that, I would start to try to manipulate how I perceive people thought of me, and try to hold myself more accountable in certain spaces, knowing that it's not something that I can maintain in my daily life. And then, you know, somebody up, she cusses in her main life, and even though she doesn't say those words online, I don't got time and the effort to try to fake those type of, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean by, you know, knowing yourself enough to know what are you working on, what are you not working on, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and validating those experiences. I think we forget that everyone has a very unique lived experience. Every single one of us has a very unique lived experience, and we're valid in how we feel in some of those experiences. That doesn't validate how we treat people or how we behave, but we are valid in how we perceive how we felt in those moments. Feelings are not always facts, but you are valid in how you felt. I can't tell you how you felt in those experiences. But instead of recognizing and honoring those space, we tend to try to impose and invalidate other people's experience just to try to justify our own experiences. Instead of trying to look at their experiences with curiosity, we try to take precedence over someone else's. And it doesn't mean that they're right and you're wrong. It just means exploring the situation, looking at the problem and more of a solution versus looking at each other like a problem. I'll be honest, some people are worth that kind of effort to sit down and have real resolutions and conversations and energy and effort towards those conversations. And some people aren't. And I think that's where the beautiful thing about choice is. You can choose where to invest your energy, and you can discern how to invest that energy in those choices. Some people will feel entitled to your choices and your decisions. They will react off of how they feel they would have reacted in those situations if they were you. Again, that is from the perspective of their lived experience. And so they can only give advice from their lived experiences, whether they agree or disagree. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. Not everything is going to be handled in a cookie cutter situation. Not everybody's going to have the sit down kumbaya conversations that sit down and, you know, everything is fine. Some relationships need to be mended, some don't. And so I think there will be situations where you can't handle things always the same. And I think there's delusion in the authenticity or the consistency of people to have that expectations that they're supposed to maintain the same level of response or reaction to people when they feel abused or neglected in some way. For instance, you know, to some people I'm a great communicator. To some people I'm not. Respect both narratives. Okay. If you have great communication, I tend to communicate greatly with you. If you have shitty communication, I may or may not have shitty communication with you. If I feel like I can learn from you, I will definitely communicate that I have some room to grow in some areas. I can be passive aggressive. I will be honest and say that there's room for me to grow. So for some, I'm a great communicator, but for some, not all the time. And so I can live in that truth and be honest with myself and say, I am who I am, right? My whole point is I won't act like I'm perfect, because I know that I have not been the greatest person to all people. And so my general character, my overall how I show up and how I feel I treat people is what I can lead with. And then I can take correction along the way. That's all I can do. But I won't beat myself up about how other people may perceive me and my reactions to situations. I say all to say I won't act like I'm perfect. I won't act like I have it all together. We do ourselves and others a disservice by pretending that we have it all together. And so when you have grace for yourself, you can extend it to others. You realize your favorite podcaster, your favorite celebrity, they're just human. They're going to disappoint you. They're going to say some fucked up things. They're going to have some questionable stuff in their history, their dialogue, not hopefully off the extreme end of hurt or harm to anyone else, to anyone. But you know that, they don't have it all together with so-and-so. They don't always communicate correctly. They don't always do XYZ. They're gonna fuck up. And so you stop putting them on a pedestal and you just take what information or take what piece of good advice that you feel holds true to your heart, and what doesn't, you disregard. No one should be at that level of glory in your life that they could just fall off and fall apart and you feel like everything was just, that's their entire character, that's their entire personality. It's not true. You realize other people's actions aren't personal or symbiotic to the audience that they have. Again, you can relate this to music, for instance. I listen to rap music. I don't trap. I don't sell drugs. Ain't nobody buying me a Gucci bag. I'm not getting flown out, but I like to act like a city girl. Okay. I know how to differentiate myself from the music, where I can discern where the music stops and who I am as a person. And you guys can do the same thing with the level of advice that's given online. How much of it can you accept and embrace that you can hold value to your life, and how much can you discard? Same. I'm not internalizing the music so I can go out and do these things. I'm recognizing, okay, I like the beat, I like the sound, it makes me feel good, but I know this isn't me who is a person, right? But that confidence, that go-getter spirit, that hustler motivation, that, you know what I mean, like boundaries, not taking shit from nobody, I'm gonna take that from I'm gonna take that from Lotto, I'm gonna take that from Cardi B, I'm gonna take that from Megan Thee Stallion. I'm going to take that energy, but I don't need the rest of it because I know that I'm not getting flown out right now. So it's like, learn some level of discernment and differentiate that you can separate yourself from people and not necessarily tear them down when they make their mistakes. Accountability and attacks are two different things. And people love to just, I think the attack is a form of projecting to kind of like take attention off of yourself. But there's room for humanity. There's room for people to grow and learn, and it doesn't have to come from a malicious place. You can recognize their imperfections and accept what their behavior has nothing to do with you, nothing to do with their audience, their community. It is their individual lived experience, and you can discern what you can learn from it and hold what is true to your heart and dispose of the rest. And then you will not feel triggered by everything that is happening on the internet. So again, thank you for joining me today. I just wanted to break off with that conversation. These will be short, brief. I'm not trying to take up your day, but if there are meaningful conversations, again, this is a space for us to have culturally competent, open dialogue about mental health wellness, holistic wellness, advocacy, our community, us growing, us learning, and us just having these open conversations together in a non-judgmental space. All right. Healing, not healed. See you guys.